So once again, time to review a toy I've technically reviewed already. I did Tigatron from the TJOmega series, but I don't know what people are going to be searching for when they look for toys on YouTube, so we might as well do the more popular version of the mold as well, except we're doing the 10th anniversary version of the character. Behold, Cheetor, a toy of many spots. So of course, he is supposed to be a cheetah, and we will admit, he is very bulky and very thick for something that is supposed to be as sleek and svelte as a cheetah. Of course, Hasbro wanted to get more than one big cat out of this mold, so he has to be quite a bit bulkier. And he has to hide a robot, too, so that also kind of comes into play. But for the most part, yeah, we're going to consider this a cheetah and just move on. Of course we're going to consider it a cheetah. It's bright yellow with a ton of spots decoed all over this guy. The spot pattern, I've never known if you could actually get it accurate to the original cartoon. It just seems rather random and, well, spotty. I don't apologize. But it is what it is, and of course it does look the part no matter where you put the spots, and I don't think anyone's really going to begrudge you if this spot is just 2 micromillimeters off from where it's supposed to be. Ruined toy! We don't want it anymore. No. We're not going to do that. We're going to accept it for what it is. And what it is not a bad job of conveying the character. We also have some little touches here, like the fangs that have been painted in white, little black on the nose. I like the black trailing all around the face. It's a nice little touch. And of course you have the green cat eyes, which is actually show accurate. So that's all well and good. Also added for the 10th anniversary version, a Maximal logo tampographed to the shoulder of the cat. Of course, not show accurate, but hey, they got into tampoing the sigils back on the toys, so hey, why not? Ah, well. So yeah, all in all, not a bad job. He's at least passing as a cheetah. He does have a few weird spots, like, you know, I don't know, the cannon barrel hanging off his chest. That's a little strange. But he also has that under his tail as well as some pretty exposed robot mode legs. Yeah, first year Beast Wars toys, not the best at hiding what they turn into. The robots in disguise part kind of goes out the window, and you need some imagination. I guess you can remove this piece and at least trim him down a little bit. That's a little bit better. He has a big gap there, but hey, you've seen worse on the underside of a Transformer, haven't you? No real articulation to speak of. All of this is pretty solid and stock, even the tail. You got articulation here, but without the front half going with it, good luck getting any kind of actual pose out of it. But hey, here's what it is. It's not a bad job. So let's go ahead and keep this ball a-rolling. We can go ahead and get into the robot mode, where there's some other things to discuss. And now we've pulled off his butt. Throw his butt over there. This guy's pretty simple. I've described his transformation before as the Beast Wars version of the G1 typical transformation, where, you know, the rear section becomes the legs and the front section becomes the front of the chest. You know, it's almost a prowl, or prowl, jazz, that kind of sort, almost along the lines of their style of transformations. We pull his crotch piece down there. Rotate everything around, get all that blue to the front. From there, untab all of this so we can fold it outward. Get this all out of the way, like so. And the chest has to rotate all the way around, fold up like that. And it's pretty much that easy. Beast Wars toys, pretty intuitive sometimes when it came to transformations, especially in the earlier wave of figures. Which, of course, wave 1, so naturally we have that. So that, my friends, is how you transform this guy. He is pretty quick, pretty efficient, and not a bad job. As I said, very classic styling of transformation. So yeah, we have Cheetor in his robot mode. Not looking too bad here, all things considered. He's got some oddities, but we will get to those. But for the most part, everything where it is, everything, you know, a place for everything and everything in its place, as it were. And we'll get into some finer details of that here in a bit. First off, of course, the head comes first. Here's where we get a little bit strange with the deco. We're going to touch on this next. He's supposed to have gold eyes to make him show accurate, but they've opted for green instead. Now, I can see why Hasbro does this, because it does kind of reinforce, well, you know, like if his spark is green, then all of his eyes should shine green, that kind of thing. You know, it's kind of like a inner glow sort of thing. But for the most part, yeah, they were gold in the show, and they really should have stayed gold. And the earlier toys were gold, too. It was only the later releases that decided that green was the eye color to go to. But hey, is what it is. Still looks okay, so I'm not gonna rail on it too much. What I can rail on is the deco itself, which, unlike a lot of these 10th anniversary releases, actually manages to be less show accurate than some of his previous versions. For show accuracy, the front of these forearms needs to be gold, the feet need to be gold. He's missing quite a bit of that, which is kind of strange considering how stringent some of the others in this line actually were to maintaining that show accuracy. I mean, he gets it across, but it's an extra hit of color the toy really could have needed. This is pretty much just in that solid, like, you know, bright yellow with a little bit of sheen to it, and this kind of gunmetal blue color, which, trust me, it doesn't look bad. You know, in fact, I actually kind of like this kind of gloss, shiny look to the plastic. It kind of brings out, you know, the CG nature of the original character models, but he does kind of need a little bit more, and that gold would have helped. I don't mind it so much, though. So, if we take a look around the toy, we do have plenty of new exposed details. Pretty simple in the molding. Nothing is really, like, heavily detailed, no major lines or anything. I do like how they've kind of skipped the paint on these little fins, these little spikes coming out of his shins, so he does have a little bit of layering going on to the detail. You can see it's very nice and smooth all the way across, which is kind of what you'd expect out of a character known for being fast, so in a way this kind of plays to his strengths. And then of course you get to his crotch where it's just a terror mouth. In fact, he kind of looks like Revenge of the Fallen Wheelie. You wouldn't want to go through life with a crotch just screaming at everybody with fangs, now would you? That's just not a way to live. Always struck me as a weird design trait. Why didn't anyone see that and change it? Ugh, it's disgusting. Okay, so you do have a little bit of variance. There is some play here. I've seen people fold the chest down like this so you can see the head more. You can kind of rotate things around, kind of play it however you want. I try to get it as show accurate as possible, but you still get this big gap lined up. Man, it feels like this should like fold all the way in to compress more, but unfortunately does not. It's kind of one of the bigger hang-ups. That kind of bugs me, just like how far this sticks out and how much farther it seems like it could have pressed in. That kind of bugs me more than the legs hanging off the back, because compared to what a lot of Beast Wars toys did, this is a minor way of handling stray legs. So I don't really mind that so much. But yeah, the placement of the head's always been a bummer on this toy. So let's see at least what the posability on this figure is. So we do have full rotation here at the head, which has a little bit of up and down, just a little bit though. Ball joints, great range in the shoulder, bicep all the way around. 180-degree elbow, though he does have a little bit of that floaty elbow look to him. Always an unfortunate thing. Waist, yeah, waist works. You have articulation there, though his crotch flap can get in the way a little bit. Ball joints in the hips, great range of motion there. That all works out for me. 90-degree knee as well as a thigh swivel. All good. Doesn't quite have anything to go within the ankles aside from a toe that bends down. You might be able to get some use out of that. So, all in all, very, very posable. I think going from Generation 2 to this guy, that's such a counterbalance to themselves. Like, you had things like Cyber Jets, but in large, the G2 toys were still known as those G1 bricks. So to come to this, quite the advancement. You could kind of tell why Beast Wars had its own hit of resurgence of popularity. The function was so much better than what we were getting at the time. So speaking of, let's see what other functions we got with this toy. So we do have a few gimmicks going on. For starters, Beast Wars Year 1 means Mutant Head. And once again, green eyes because we're keeping with a green theme. It's not too bad. I always liked how it kind of used those horns from the front, from the top of Cheetor's head as little pincers. Gives him more of a bestial look. Very clever in that multi-use design. But hey, it's also ugly, so let's keep it at that. It does have weaponry, of course. Here we have the infamous gut gun. If I can actually show it through all the lens glare, you can see there's intestinal detailing molded in. That is disgusting. And apparently they had to completely remold this for this release because it had gotten a little old as time went on. So maybe that's where the paint budget went. You needed a new piece created. So mounted right there. This was the water squirting gimmick because Beast Wars was still kind of big on that. You don't see that anymore now, do you? No one really wants to soak their toys anymore. But yeah, if you fill it up, you spray it with water. It's cheaper than making a missile, I guess. And you don't get it anymore, which is good and bad, I guess. And then, of course, we do have the butt gun, which folds over like that to reveal the blaster. This is a much more kibbly kind of weapon. You get this huge section of cheetah butt, and then the tail that's just kind of doing nothing. But hey, it gives him a secondary accessory, and it's not often you get a deluxe or anything like that with 2 weapon accessories. So for a character that's known for speed, he was also pretty well armed, which I think makes him pretty viable as far as taking him seriously as a warrior, even though he was supposed to be like the young scout type, like a Bumblebee character. So that's pretty much all there is to the original deluxe Cheetor, at least the 10th anniversary version. Everything on the toy still feels good. He's nice and solid. The joints all still work, so all that checks out. He does have some inaccuracies, and I definitely could have used those hits of gold in robot mode just to kind of give him a little bit more color. But he still stands as a pretty decent looking Cheetor, and still not a bad figure, and at the very least, out of Beast Wars toys, not quite as cluttered as some of those ended up being. So if you were ever curious about the mold, this still holds up pretty well, I think. But then again, we've got the Masterpiece version coming out soon, so I don't know, you might not be wanting this one for much longer.